Week 15 of the fantasy football season, and here's top 12 kickers I'm ranking this week. Number 1, Harrison Butker of the Kansas City Chiefs. So this week here, great matchup with the Houston Texans. I can't stop anyone. I think this Chief team easily could put up 30 to 45 points in this game range. And we saw it last week where this Chief offense exploded at the Denver Broncos, even though the Broncos gave them a little bit of a scare at the end of that game. But Harrison Butker, he's been playing good football with 3 double-digit fantasy games in the last 4. And this week here, I got him in number 1. Number 2, Justin Tucker of the Baltimore Ravens. So Justin Tucker, he's been one of the best kickers once again this season here. And a guy you pretty much could bank on for at least 7 fantasy points as his floor this season. So this week here in a matchup at Cleveland, where this defense isn't great in Cleveland, but they make a few stops when they need it. And also with Lamar Jackson probably not going to play in this game, missing practice, first few practice sessions of the week here. It's going to be more field goal settling here for Justin Tucker. And you know, he's a guy that 9 out of 10 times he's going to hit it through the uprights. Number 3, Tyler Bass of the Buffalo Bills. So this week here, Saturday night football ball game for the Buffalo Bills versus the Miami Dolphins. And Tyler Bass, over the last month of the season, his numbers have definitely gone up. And this Bill offense, they haven't punched the ball in the end zone as much as you thought they would over the last few weeks. Last week was a grinded out ball game with the New York Jets. Thanksgiving as well, we saw it as a grind out ball game with the Detroit Lions winning at the final buzzer. And Tyler Bass right now, he's been a guy getting more opportunities and making the most of it. Number 4, Evan McPherson of the Cincinnati Bengals. So this week here, a mediocre matchup at Tampa Bay. But we know this Tampa Bay defense obviously is a decent unit where they're going to have to settle for some field goals, and this one is the Cincinnati Bengals. Evan McPherson, I know last week had a down week. He missed the extra point in the ball game, but I think it was a hiccup. And this week here, possibly good weather at Tampa Bay. I think he has a pretty good game as Evan McPherson. And this is another test here for Joe Burrow and the Bengals. I know this Tampa Bay offense hasn't been great this season, and their record obviously hasn't been great at 6-7, but it's always a tough game versus Tom Brady no matter what. And I think Evan McPherson's going to kick a couple good ones in this ball game. And I got him at 4. Number 5, Daniel Carlson of the Vegas Raiders. So Daniel Carlson, he's been one of the better kickers this season in fantasy football. And this week here, it's a good matchup for him indoors once again in Vegas versus a bend but don't break type of defense in New England, where obviously I think they're going to have to settle for a couple field goals in this one. At least here is this Vegas Raider team. So Daniel Carlson at home, he's pretty much been money in the bank. And we know he had that long streak with 40-plus field goals in a row made before it was broken a couple weeks ago. But this week here, I like him at 5 and getting a few opportunities for a good game. Number 6, Younghoe Koo of the Atlanta Falcons. So Younghoe Koo, he's still out there in a decent amount of fantasy leagues. He's got a good matchup at the New Orleans Saints. Always great when a kicker's indoors. And that's why I have some of these guys ranked higher than other kickers who obviously are better. But when you're indoors, you don't got to deal with the weather and stuff. And you just got that true kick off the boot. So this week here, Younghoe Koo in New Orleans, the stadium obviously also as well that he's familiar with, playing there once a year within the division. I think he has a good ball game, and this is going to be a Falcon offense. Ritter at quarterback, where I don't think they're going to move the ball that well, and Koo's going to go out there and have to try some 40 and 50 yards. Number 7, Cameron Dicker of the Los Angeles Chargers. So Dicker, he's been a good find for this Charger team over the last few weeks here, with obviously Hopkins on the injured reserve. And to be honest with you, if I'm the Chargers, I would stick with Dicker at kicker. But we don't know what some of these teams are thinking. Like Mike Wright was kicking the football well for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And then once Boswell came off IR, he was obviously the guy once again with Mike Wright getting released. But anyway, Cameron Dicker's got a good matchup versus Tennessee that's given up tons of points over the last few weeks here. And it's another indoor game as well. So I think Dicker in this one, anywhere from 8 to 10 fantasy points is a possibility in this high-powered offense with the Chargers with all their weapons back. And I got him at 7. Number 8, Nick Folk of the New England Patriots. And Nick Folk's been a solid kicker for many seasons now. I know a couple weeks ago he had a hiccup, but the last few weeks here he's putting it through the upright. He's playing good football, and it's an indoor game here for him as well at the Vegas Raiders. And we know this Raider defense really isn't that good. We saw it last week where 98-yard drive they lost on to Mayfield, who didn't even know the playbook, being over there for 2 days with the Rams. But anyway, Nick Folk's on an offense where they don't finish a lot of drives in the end zone and where they got to settle for 2-3 field goals weekly. So this week here versus a weak defense, and with the way this offense operates over there with the Patriots, I think in Las Vegas he has a good one. Number 9, Michael Badgley of the Detroit Lions. So this Lion offense, no doubt about it, it's been a high-powered offense over the last month of the season. But the thing is, they've played 3 home games in a row, and on the road, their offense plays different. So in this one, I think they're going to be settling for more field goals. I know it's a tough kickers stadium here in MetLife Stadium, especially in December with the winds and obviously the bad climate over there. But anyway, Michael Badgley's been good. Last season, I thought he was good with the Indianapolis Colts, and I just let him walk after the season was over. But this week here, I think he put up a decent ball game. And I got him at 9. Number 10, Jason Myers of the Seattle Seahawks. And Myers, he's had a good season this year with 8 fantasy games with double-digit fantasy points. But the last few weeks, his numbers definitely have dropped off here for Jason Myers. But this week here in a grinded-out division ball game, where I don't think the Seahawks will score that many touchdowns and have to settle for some field goals versus the 49ers. I think he bounces back with a good game as Myers. He's been a good kicker, like I mentioned this season, especially at home. And I got him in number 10, number 11, staying in the same game, Robbie Gould of the San Francisco 49ers. So this Niner team, week after week, it seems like they're taking a hit on the offensive end. A few weeks ago was Eli Mitchell going down. Then it was Jimmy Garoppolo going down 2 weeks ago. And then last week, Deebo Samuel going down. So right here in a division ball game where I think we're going to see both teams settle for field goals a decent amount of times in this one. I think Robbie Gould's good for 7 to 10 fantasy points in this game at Seattle, even though the winds are obviously heavy and it's a Thursday night game, which obviously don't help as well. But Robbie Gould within 40 yards, he's a great kicker, and I got him at 11 in the 12th and final kicker I'm ranking this week's Brett Maher of the Dallas Cowboys. So Maher's been up and down this season here, and even last week he didn't do much for this Dallas Cowboy team, where they obviously found the end zone 3 times and only kicked 2 field goals. But Maher's got a big boot. It should be great weather, obviously, in Jacksonville, even though it's December. Probably mid-50s, 60s at worst-case scenario. And it's going to be a ball game where it could be a potential shootout with the Cowboys and this pretty much new and improved Jacksonville offense. So Brett Maher, I think this week he could have a ball game 5-10 fantasy point range. And I got him at 12, so that's the top 12 kickers I'm ranking for Week 15 of the fantasy football season.